But I am named Caitria, and I have had a lifelong, albeit quiet, relationship with science fiction. As a kid, it was an escape, it was inspirational, and they called me Dictionaria, so it was a good way to avoid that scene. But I keep on returning to science fiction as I grow up. By some twist of fate, I ended up building products with people. And I keep returning to science fiction because I make incremental changes to things that already exist a lot of the time. And I'm wondering, how do these guys come up with these big ideas and make them so detailed? So I started looking into what science fiction is. And the definition says it's about how this big idea that I haven't had yet affects people. Well, what if you haven't had that idea yet? How do you keep digging in? So I looked at journalism to see if I could find some inspiration. This is from Emile Souvestre. He's a French author, and he showed a scrolling newspaper in the year 3000. This is from Jules Verne and the book 2889. This is his Skype and phonograph setup. He can record the news that comes to his phonograph to listen to later. And you'll notice a lot of this looks familiar. Like Bluetooth came from Star Trek. Geordi had Google Glass before it was cool, and that's an iPad. So what can you look at this science fiction and start to learn about these, how they got here? Oh, and sorry, Google, Arthur C. Clarke came up with both the trials and the tribulations, the good and bad parts of Google Alerts way before Google did. It also starts delving science fiction into the realm of the absurd. So, say newspapers continue declining, Philip K. Dick created a homotropic news vending machine that chases down humans and tries to sell them a newspaper. And just a few years later, actually in 2004, according to Philip K. Dick, he created a robotic journalist that's actually capable of getting and giving information to people. Now, the AP announced last month that they are doing exactly that. So we're bridging these gaps as we come to them, but it's not so much about the technology as it is an exploration of the idea behind it, right? These people didn't get it right. It was an idea that they had. It's a sandbox, basically, to examine these questions, and you have to play with the ideas to find out what's good or bad for humanity. For example, Fahrenheit 451. He had a lot of cool stuff. A society obsessed with flat-screen TVs, couldn't look away. But he also explores censorship, these good and bad things. He explores what the world would look like if we broke this crucial fundamental part of our world. And that's where the idea seems to come from. It started to occur to me, it's not so much that he had a good idea, but he asked a good question. 1984 is another kind of thematic heavy hitter. It looks at what it looks like when information and history are controlled by a state power. So in 1984, not only are you being watched all the time, but you're not allowed to record your own information. So your memory fades over time and you're more susceptible to believing what the state government said. It is a little bit depressing to read some of these books, actually. But sometimes the technology itself is the interesting thing. This is Skynet, powered by Google. And it asks us, what would happen if we let artificial intelligence technology make the decisions? And that's an important question to ask, because we're making things that can do this right now. Look at Watson in a couple years. So it occurred to me that science fiction is more than just exploring the bleeding edge or coming up with cool technology. It's about wondering why or wondering what could happen. And that's how these writers seem to have given us these moonshots, another Jules Verne. It's basically, they're taking an idea and they roll it out across the whole galaxy and see what breaks. We do things a little bit more incrementally. So I'm sitting at my dining room table, I'm trying to write this science fiction-y stuff, and I'm reading all of the ideas that other people have had in the past, and I'm kind of overwhelmed by it. And I'm not a scientist, and I don't have a technical background, but I love this stuff. And what I realized, what I have are my questions. I have a lot of ideas that I can continue to develop, even if they're not the right idea right now. And the thing I always go back to, this is one of my favorite things that Da Vinci did, he had the right idea. He asked the right question. What if a man could fly? And he got the implementation completely wrong. And the helicopter wasn't built into the 1940s, but he thought of it in 1485 by asking a question. So I would wonder for journalism, what kinds of questions can we ask today that maybe we don't know how to solve yet, and how do those become the things that we built tomorrow?